we have 3 places where I've prepared for questions, or I will ask you questions, and that's where I hope for some interactivity. So please, we go to the first slide. So just before we start, can you all see? I have some green button up here. It's kind of in the way. Okay. So every day in any organization, we have a lot of chit chat, right? People asking questions from each other, people talking to each other about what happens, and they try to make sense of what is going on. This thing, those dialogues, those conversations amongst people, that's actually what my business is focusing on. We try to figure out who is connecting to who, who's relating to whom, what are they talking about, how are emotions spreading, where do people find their energy, who do people collaborate with, and who could make them more effective. All these kind of things that you cannot see in the formal structures, because they're driven much more by something like sympathy, or by trust, or other things you're aware of. Or as you just experienced it with Jeppe, if you have a common background, you both lived in Denmark, or maybe you have an affiliation to a group like Toast, I think it was called Toastmasters, or whatever, right? Those things actually make people connect to each other. So what we do is that we map that out in organizations. We try to understand who is connecting to who. So one thing is you have the formal organization where somebody has the kind of the stars on their shoulders. They lead the team. In this picture that I have here to the left, they're shown as squares, and we have each team shown with different colors, and then you have people underneath. And then you got the thing to the right, which is, so how are people really interacting with each other? And suddenly you see a different picture, right? Because you see someone being very central, and you see other people being very peripheral. You see entire groups being, like the white one, sitting out there in periphery, being disconnected from everything, or only connected to the rest of the organization by one single person. And you even have people sitting at the top that are totally disconnected from the organization, even though they work for it. And I see those things every single time I work with a company. I can tell you, I did this the first time, and it's now 14 years ago. I did this analysis on my organization. It had 35 people. And in that analysis, I discovered one person sitting in the periphery, and I got really disappointed with that person, because I had hired him in to be the one person that should train and educate all the young people. And he was still sitting in the periphery. But then I kind of had a second thought. Maybe it was not actually his fault. It was actually my fault. Maybe it was because I had sent him off on a 12-month project with a client, which he was doing full time. So he had never had a chance to connect to his colleagues. So I kind of realized it was actually my own fault, right? And there was another finding. There was a woman, and I think she was 35 or so, and she had never really been a high performer in my perception, right? But anyways, she was the most central person in the organization. If she would be run over by a bus, everything would fall apart. She was really the glue in the organization. So what she was doing was that she was the one person everyone would go and talk to when they had an issue. If their dog was not good, or if they had problems with their husband or wife, they would always go and talk to her, because she was just very likable. So I kind of realized she was so central in the informal or the real organization that we needed to kind of reorganize the organization to kind of cater for that. And it's those kind of insights that we develop for our clients. We expose who are the most important people in the informal organization, and we also expose how do emotions and feelings spread from them, and what can you use this insights for if you drive a change program. For example, if you are dealing with mergers and acquisitions, if you're dealing with large-scale change management, digital transformation, or whatever. So it's the same approach every single time, data-based. Good. Jeppe, can I just ask you, are your faces, are they visible on the screen? So I should do like this so you cannot see yourself. Is this better? Good.
I think it's fine. For me, it's fine.
Okay, but I'll just do like this. So one of the things we've discovered over the years is that the more connected teams are, the better they perform. And what does that mean? Well, we're looking at teams now with maybe 20 to 40 employees. And the better they kind of look after each other and work as one and go in the same direction, the better the performance. This is something we've discovered in pharma companies, in insurance companies, and in professional services companies, and so forth. So this was kind of the things that I had on my backbone when I was going out for that run that morning. I knew that we had to be connected as a team if we wanted to have good performance. And it was something we'd done for years, right? So in 2019, you could see that we were working, I mean, all over the globe in many different countries, but still we wanted to do that sitting at one office just north of Copenhagen, because I believe so much in keeping people together, making sure they have those connections to each other where they can have fun, they can crack jokes, but they can also have interaction regarding new things and invent things and all of this kind of thing. So I know that if we want to be highly performing, I would rather keep them together than spread them across the entire globe. So that's what we do, even though we work, as you can see here on the picture, in many different parts of the world. There's only one continent we have not been working at, and that is South America for some odd reason. So we've kept the team together, and now suddenly the coronavirus comes, right? The coronavirus comes and forces us into working remotely, not being sitting together in the same location anymore. The thing that my team had done was that overnight, basically, they moved everyone in the team onto a platform called Teams. And that's what they did. So, but we were really asking ourselves, so what do we do? what do we do? Can you see the challenge of suddenly going against everything you believed in for 14 years? I mean, keeping everyone together, and then suddenly you're sitting in many different locations, in different countries. It was a major challenge. Yeah. So I kind of defined the principles. First thing first, of course, people should be working from home because it's about safety first. So we told everyone, you're not coming into the office today. Please stay at home. Please make sure you don't put yourself into danger. So Thursday, and I think it's, if I look at the dates here, it's 3 weeks ago, right? So it's probably around the 13th or so. Everyone has been working from home since. Next thing is, yeah, we must keep the distance. I mean, we cannot just go into the office every now and then because we want to meet. So how do we do this? Again, it's a safety thing. And I also knew that I mean, apart from us always being connected and working together, there's one thing that is really important for us, and that's actually the coffee chats. We have so many coffee chats during the day. We miss those. I mean, these social things. We have a Monday breakfast, and then we have a Friday wine, and every day after lunch we play table foosball. We have so many things that we do together just to have fun and make sure we connect to each other. We even, and I mean, at this time of the year, we would probably have been barbecuing the first sausages on our terrace. But now we can't do that. So bummer, right? So a principle I think we had to work with was, how can we make sure we still get the coffee chats and the social things going on? I'm sure some of you have actually seen the same thing. And then there's another thing. One of the things that we know from our research is that if you're a field worker, so not working at the headquarters, but working out there in the field, then you try to reach out to the head office, but you don't get any reaction at all. Because the head office is so busy with their own stuff that they don't have time to solve your problems. And I still remember the first meeting I had with the team where one of my people was saying, well, yeah, but we have all become field workers now. We're all sitting in different places and nobody's really listening to us. And that really struck me, because if there was one thing I wanted to avoid, it was that people would not feel heard. So I really wanted to make sure that we were not new field workers here. We were still working together as a team. We were still socially connected. We were still basically also serving our clients in many different places. So just to put an extra element to the struggle, I can also tell you that at that time, while we were being sent home, we were about to deliver 3 different projects with a very intense timeline in Spain, in Belgium, and then in Central Europe. 3 different projects that normally would require a lot of team interaction, a lot of brainstorming, a lot of sessions together with pizza meetings, etc. So those kind of things was the expectation, and now we needed to handle it sitting in many different locations. The last thing I really wanted to say is there is something called the loneliness epidemic, and you've probably heard about it before, but last year in the US, I think the numbers say that about 60% of adult Americans have felt lonely in the workplace. That's an insane number, and then it's an insane number because it has so severe health what do you call that? It has complications for your health. I read an article stating that, I mean, feeling lonely is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes per day. And that just tells you something about how dangerous it is, right? So 15 cigarettes per day, that's the loneliness epidemic. And I know that in my team, I have a lot of singles. I have a lot of actually non-Danish people sitting. So I needed to do something about that. How could I make sure they would not feel lonely? And loneliness kind of sneaks in like very quickly when you are sitting alone in a small apartment. I'm sure some of you are familiar with that already. Good. So loneliness was also on the agenda. Social connections was on the agenda. But of course, we needed to be staying safe and at the distance. So those kind of things were the things that I was thinking about in my morning run. So that was my task. So my question now, because of this loneliness thing here, and this is a kind of an open question: how do you ensure your colleagues are not lonely during coronavirus 19? Are you reaching out to the individual sitting alone at home, or maybe the elder people that you have in your network? What do you do? And I think this is where they can use the chat function, right, Jeppe?
Yes. Also, you can just unmute yourself if you. I think since we're not too many now, so unmute yourself and share your thoughts.
Who wants to share what you're doing?
How you deal with loneliness?
Liam, no, who is this? Okay, let me tell you what I'm doing. So I'm actually, my mom and my dad, they have been isolated now for 3 weeks as well. And it is starting to play a toll on them, especially because my mom is so fond about her grandchildren that she is normally spending every single day together with them in Jutland, which is about 3 hours drive away from here. But it really gets her now that she cannot get to talk to anyone anymore. So I've kind of made the rule that I'm checking in on her every second day just to make sure. I'm also doing another thing because I have these colleagues that were foreigners in Denmark. And we've kind of decided that they should all go home to their own countries because they needed to be together with family. And they've done so, even though that meant that they had to be in quarantine for a couple of weeks.
We have one and now 2. Oh wow, okay, they're coming. Now I need to read, right? So from Przemek in Poland, he says, I set up coffee time with them via Zoom and make phone calls. Then Gabriela, she shared that we had a private group on Facebook and we share paintings, sculpture from our collection. and choose a piece of music to go with it. Wow, this is creative. We do not speak about Corona at all. That's good. But it helps us to share our collection and interest, and we are getting to know more about each other via our choices. Something to learn from. Then we have Yen. Yen says virtual coffee every morning with colleagues. Then, sorry, just by Skype business. Okay. Mark Moch, keep having drinks together on Friday afternoon. Good idea. Then Semek again, virtual coffee tastes, okay, just a comment, virtual coffee tastes similarly. And then Esther Nagy, she says, I send photos and videos about the grandchildren to my parents. I guess this is all
that's good.
what I got.
Friday back. That's a good one.
Esther, daily coffee and chat.
So lots of good ideas. Lots of good ideas, and I think I like them, actually, all of them. Maybe I should just get a print of this afterwards. Phone calls. We actually do FaceTime now because we want to make sure that we see each other. So I've actually skipped the phone calls now, and I do FaceTime instead. Yep. Okay. So a lot of good ideas about ensuring that people are not feeling lonely, and I'm just trying to encourage you to think about your colleagues as well, not only your family. I think the first step with the family makes a lot of sense. But amongst your colleagues, there might also be people that are lonely. I at least realize that. So good. So what were the 5 principles we decided that we wanted to work on for this? Well, I said, first of all, we wanted to make sure that everyone was having the same platform, technology platform to work from. And all of us had to have access to it. And why am I saying access? I'm saying access because even though many people think it is, that's just like the way it is, that everybody has access, everybody has internet at their homes, etc. But it isn't. And I came to learn that even though I thought everyone had Wi-Fi, they didn't. So access and to one platform is pretty important. We moved, I'll get back to that. The other thing I wanted to focus on was rhythm. We've had a rhythm in our organization where we had breakfast every Monday and we had wine every Friday, as I said. But that rhythm, that everybody has that rhythm in the organization, that is extremely important. Making sure you have the discipline. I'm actually making the exact same thing at home with my kids. When they go to school, right, they get woken up at 7 o'clock, and then the schooling start at 8. And there's no variation in that. It's the same rhythm every single time. Then focus on social, as we talked about. I mean, we crave for social connections, and the longer it takes right now, the more we crave for it. We want to see pictures of people's dogs and kids and listen to music together with people, or even see pictures and paintings. It's so important for us as human beings to see that. Fourth thing, we wanted to be focusing on the morale, because I mean, let's face it, we're 3 weeks into this one, and not everyone is coping with this in a good way. There are certainly different ways of coping with this, and it is impacting the morale. And I guess all employees and businesses that are private are thinking, okay, do I still have a workplace tomorrow? So that's an important thing to be talking about. And then we track well-being. So those 5 principles were really what we said we wanted to start out with. Access to one platform, rhythm, social, morale, and track well-being. And as Jeppe said, so where's the business in all of this? Well, to me, the business is in all of it, because this is about taking care of the people, making sure that they are really still seeing the light and they have a good time. Because if they are doing well, then I can also work with them. But if they're not doing well, then I can do whatever I want to do, and I can say whatever I want to say, and nothing happens. So it's all about the people, right from the first one to the last one. Yeah. Good. So, who's this? Was that a question? Okay. Good. So what did we do? Well, the first one, we moved away from mails to one collaboration tool, Microsoft Teams, to make sure that everything was transparent. And I have to say, Teams, and this is pure luck. I mean, we have Office 365, and I had noticed that something was on my computer maybe a couple of months before, but I've never really figured out what to do with it, right? So, but that night, the first night between when our Prime Minister announced that now everyone had to work from home, or kids had to work from home, and when I woke up, that's where my people made sure that we all moved to Microsoft Teams, and it has been working from day one, and it has been an amazing journey. Actually, it has been so amazing that in the same period, all InnoVice emails, I mean the emails that we were sending each other, they have gone obsolete. I almost don't check into my email anymore, only for external emails, and that's it. But otherwise, no internal emails anymore, and that's actually a nice thing. And just think about, okay, how long have we actually been trying to get away from this email platform? And now suddenly, because of this crisis, it's happening. So nice. One good thing about the crisis, I guess. Two, well, we needed to have that daily regularity. So like I told you, we had the Monday breakfast and the Friday wine, but very quickly we discovered we needed to have a morning breakfast every single day. So I think we started Thursday. Monday we had our first breakfast as usual. And already Tuesday morning we realized, on Monday we decided, okay, we want to do this every single day. And on the Tuesday we realized it was not enough to have a check-in in the morning. We also needed to have a check-out in the afternoon. So every single day now we have a check-in and a check-out. And then there's a lot more alignment of expectations happening. And I don't think I've ever been spending so much time on leadership in my team as I am right now. It's like I'm wasted, I can tell you, when I get to bed every single day. But that's the way it is. Then the third thing, people, they crave for connectivity, right? They want these social things, right? So I'm checking in with everyone frequently, and especially the foreigners, to find out how they're doing. And then one of the things that I realized was that after 1 week, I realized that all the public announcements in Denmark were only communicated in Danish. There was nothing really in English. So it was not until someone shared with me a link that actually had translated all the Danish announcements into English that I could actually start to share this with my people as communication. But I had a few days where I actually needed to make sure that they actually knew what was going on in Denmark. Because what they were doing was that they were just adhering to the rules that they could hear from their home country. So Hungary, as one of you was saying, or Czech Republic, or Slovakia, or not so much Sweden. Sweden was actually okay. Netherlands and so forth. That's one thing. But the other thing we also discovered is that we actually need to make sure we have virtual teams and games and quizzes and questions going on all the time. So for example, every single day, we raise a question in our social section of the Teams platform where we ask people about different things. So things like, what's your favorite board game? Or who's your favorite musician? Or what is your favorite movie? Or whatever, just to make sure that we talk about something else than what we normally do. We also have online chess going on. We have quizzes and similar things. So this one was a big one for me. Then the thing about the morale, well, there's a lot of listening happening in this one, and every single morning when we have these check-in and every afternoon when we have the checkouts, I spend a lot of time on actually just sitting and listening and looking at the videos. We have the principle that we always have the video on, just to see if I can see of any signs. And for example, this afternoon, right before this meeting here, we had our checkout, and I could see that some of my people, they were feeling tired, and that's not a good sign. So that's something I'm going to talk about already after this meeting, because I want them to relax and make sure they don't work in the weekend, etc. Even though they feel like they want to do it, right? That's the issue. So make sure that they actually take the break, get out. And I think tomorrow we're actually going to have sunshine in Denmark, and that's going to be a nice thing for everyone. And then you need to be optimistic and show direction. And how do you be optimistic? I mean, we had projects. That makes it a lot easier because we had something to work on. But at the same time, I mean, the pipeline, suddenly people or companies are not taking decisions anymore. We had this good project with an airline producer coming in, or was supposed to come in here right after Easter, and now it's gone. Of course, and I mean, a producer of airlines, they're not going to do anything right now, right? Because nobody is flying. So we needed to be optimistic and keep on showing, or I need to keep on showing direction out of here. The belief in that we can actually get this thing done, and also show that I care about the feelings that everyone else has. For example, people with kids, they're struggling right now when they have small kids with getting their everyday life to fit together. They look with or they listen with horror when they hear about that they have to stay at home at least for maybe, I don't know, for 1 more month or so, right? And I heard Ed saying until the end of May. We are actually in the lucky position right now in Denmark that we are starting to talk about a gradual, and it's very important to emphasize gradual, opening in 2 weeks, but still. So to make sure we still had some morale, I said we need to do something. We need to kind of redefine what we are delivering to our clients, and we needed to do something fast. And we actually delivered a product that I'm going to show you what we did with. We did that in 10 days, and it has been a fantastic way to kind of get the team to work together on something that has been very motivating. I think that's certainly something. Find something that people can work together on, that they find is actually is serving a purpose. I'll get back to that one. Number 5, this is about the well-being. I mean, don't think you know. Ask your people how they feel and what else they need from you all the time. Check the pulse. I think I'm not doing it on a daily basis right now, but I do it at least every 3rd or 2nd day, simply to find out, okay, how are we doing? Are we in good shape or are we not in good shape? Good. So in the next question, you are all parts of different companies, and I know it says how have you helped the morale, but my question is really, what have your companies done to help the morale in your organizations? Can we do it in the same way as last time, Jeppe? Maybe with people just writing, or we'll wait a bit.
Yeah, I think yeah, we can also, but if you can also unmute yourself and speak, some of you.
If you feel like sharing something, then please do.
Yes, and then I just wanted to tell you that I switched off your videos during the presentation just for better performance, but now you can just switch on your video and unmute yourself and share, or else we're gonna wait for your comments on the chat.
I'll just comment that, you know, with the different employees that I've got around the world, I'm just giving them their space. I think at first everybody was really trying to pivot and figure out, you know, what we're going to do to change our business model or our positioning or whatever you want to call it. And now it's more into, okay, what are we going to do when we come out of it?
Yeah. What is the timeline for that, Ed, in your place?
At least through the end of today.
The end of today? Did you say that?
If I can make it through the end of the day, we'll be good, and then we'll start again on Monday.
Okay, so you're planning day by day still. That's what you're saying. We do too. Actually, I want to say we're going to week by week now.
Yeah. That's what. Sorry for the humor. I won't joke anymore. But
No, that's okay.
yeah, I mean, there's 2 weeks ago we came up with 3 plans. We had our if this ends in 2 weeks, if this ends in 2 months, and if this ends in 2 years. And all 3 of the plans were vastly different. So at least it's got us thinking, of a future. Completely unknown which of the futures, but get you at least saying, okay, the future will come. It seems that the uncertainty of it all is the biggest stressor. So at least if I can get them saying, look, if all you do for the next few days is, finish 4 series on Netflix, I'm okay with that. But I want to know that you're thinking about what we're going to do when we pull out of this. Because if we pull out of this and you're like, now what? Then there's no excuse.
Yeah, true. Interesting. Is anyone else working with scenarios? I can share. We work with 3 scenarios, but they're not like yours. We have April 15, that everything ends by April 15. The other one is everything ends after the summer holiday, so August 15th. And the last one is January 1st, 2021. And actually, because of those 3 scenarios, there are some decisions and also tough decisions that we have had to take already now because of the commitments that we have.
Jan has written that keeping morale in a new way of working together on new tasks.
Yeah. I'm. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm working normally with recruiting in and out of Denmark, but because of the let me see the video. Okay.
We can hear you, Jan.
We announced a lot of financial support. Okay, the Danish government has announced a lot of financial packages to help companies, and there are many different ways. There's a very big uncertainty inside the companies. So they have asked us to be on a hotline for every strange kind of situations, and to advise companies. We're very insecure because it's a new working area for us. We are far out of our comfort zone, but in the way we're working together in another way, we have the expert in the background. It's a kind of new way of working together, and in that way there's a feeling of a high morale. We can do this. We have to do this, and that's really keeping up the spirit in the company and keeping the morale up.
I guess there's also an element of, okay, you're actually helping out, right?
Yeah.
In this.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Anyone else? I can see some people unmuted, so if you want to share, just go ahead.
Good. But thank you for those examples. I think my thoughts were also, okay, I need to do something to make sure the morale is high. And like I said, I was lucky that we had projects running, because when people have something to do, then they tend not to think about the immediate future right away, because they need to get that assignment completed. That's the way it normally works in our type of business. But the next thing was, I wanted to make sure that we also had something we could work together on. And then what Jan just said about helping out, that was really my idea. I wanted to engage everyone in defining something with our existing tools that would help our clients. And it didn't really matter to me if we made money on it or not. So it needed to be a real problem, and it would be an opportunity to help our clients, because our clients are the most important to us, really, right? So I talked to one client and they said, well, and this was a couple of days in, they said, this self-isolation makes our life difficult and keeping the staff morale high is becoming a formidable challenge. And I thought, okay, this is a real problem for us. Can we actually help them with figuring this out? Then we would be doing something that was good for our clients. And then so this is where we started. And then we said, okay, we have some tools that we can maybe configure to help with that problem. But that would require a new design. So I allocated this task to some of my good people, and they actually worked on this for some days and came up with a solution for how could we design that solution for our clients and use our existing tools for it, so it wouldn't require an extra investment. And what was it then that we did? Well, we delivered something that we called, and you can see it with the red banner on our website. It's called the Coronavirus Pulse Tracker. It's about finding out, so how's your team doing? What can you do to help them staying productive, connected, and actually well throughout their time at home? And then we said, after having developed that took maybe, we were like 5-6 days in, right? Then we said, okay, let's figure out how do we market this. And phase one was, we said, we want to do something good for all our clients, right? So we said, all our subscription clients, we offer this to you for free. And this was just to kind of check if they found it valuable or not. The day after, we said, okay, now we actually wanted to offer it to all our recent clients. And they all get it, also getting it for free. And when we then started to get the feedback that they found it really, really valuable, then we said, okay, but why don't we just then distribute it further out? So in phase 3, we started to share it with people one-on-one. And in phase 4, we started to do social media branding. And I should say that all our branding and PR is actually taking place through social media. We do not do any outbound sales. Our sales is always done by people reaching out to us. So we're just using our existing mechanisms for this. So we did the marketing part, and in 4 phases it was stage gate. So we kind of knew if we were doing good or not. If we would not have had any subscription clients thinking that this was a good idea, we would have stopped immediately. But we went through all the stages here, all the phases, and every single time we heard from them, this is brilliant. So that's what we did. Branding wise, well, we actually needed to do some new graphics here, right? And we needed to build a new website. We also needed to build infographics. And all of that also had to take place. And these things are now happening in parallel. I mean, the things that the subscription client saw was not fancy graphics, not a fancy website, no infographics, no nothing. It was basically just us explaining them, we would actually like to help you with tracking how you're doing as a company. But of course, it has become more advanced. Then the last thing in this respect was that we needed to set up our sales so we could actually do inbound sales. We already had that, but now we need to do inbound sales for a product that is maybe only worth, and I haven't even calculated that, but maybe 1% of our normal price tag for our services. So it's a totally different sales process that we actually have inbound here. Here it's about almost just clicking through and getting the sale without talking to a client. So that's something we needed to reconfigure basically. And we are at the stage that if this keeps on being an issue, and we keep on having success with promoting this through social media, then we actually need to move on to doing a typical web-based platform to do web sales. That will have some requirements on our backend with our financial system, but that's what we have to do. Then we can do credit card payments, for example. We'll figure that out. And I think that attitude that we will figure that out is really important. Is because when I first introduced this idea, I had, I think, about 100% of my people being skeptical about this idea, because they couldn't see the idea because it was so far away from what we had already done. On the second day, some of them actually, I mean, I think the idea had matured a bit with them. So I would say 20% were on board with it. And then it steadily grew, actually until the day that we finally had a paying client. When we had a paying client, then suddenly everyone was on board. And the first paying client came after 10 days, 9 in fact. So the payment was after 9 days, and the product delivered to the client after 10 days. But that's how fast it went. And I'm not even sure that our website looks like this anymore, by the way, because it has been changing ever since. The important thing here is just to mention, but even though we make this small product for our clients to help them out, which feels good, we are still, of course, doing what we do normally, which is the organization network analysis. So we also had to make sure that we didn't communicate anything that would kind of ruin our position within organization network analysis. Good. Next thing. So what is it we've done? Well, we are delivering reports now within 1 day. It allows our different teams to do an activity tracking, and within the team, I mean my own team, I make sure to communicate the status of this in every single meeting, so both in the mornings and in the afternoons. And this actually keeps the morale high, because we get these paying clients coming in out of the blue. We have never heard about them before, and suddenly they're coming. First we had a company coming from the US, and we had one from the UK. Now we have one from Australia, and then we have one from Canada, and so forth. So they come from all over the world, which is nice because it's companies that we don't know or have never had contact with before. But it's also because we actually think it matters a lot to people or to companies to stay in touch with their people during these tough times. And it's so easy for people to forget that they need to check in with their teams. Good. So what have we learned in this process? Well, one of the things we've learned is that we have, of course, as we always do, we've collected a lot of data on this. And I'm sorry about the picture, this is already a couple of days old. But we have learned what is it that drives productivity, well-being, and ability to get the job done in teams right now. That's a tremendous learning, and I think in 1 day or 2 we will actually be sharing the first stories about that. We can now tell organizations what is it exactly that you should do if you want to drive productivity. And you can see in this case, it's about making sure that your employees have the flexibility to structure their own workday, which makes a lot of sense, I would say, because we all have kids at home or whatever, so we need to plan. And it's about making sure that your teams are staying connected all the time. So it's actually the social construct that we talked about before. Those 2 things are the most important elements if you want to make your people able to solve or to get the job done on a daily basis. This might change though, and we can already see that now in our numbers. So what we have done is that we have looked at people that have been working home for 14 days, and now we're starting to look at people that have been working from home for 21 days, and they have different priorities. And I think that is important to understand. It's different priorities that we have. What I can see is happening right now is when people have been working from home for three weeks, they know they can cope with working from home, but they actually now are more requesting 2 other things. They're requesting right now more transparency around what is happening to the company. That's an important thing. They want to know, how will we get out to the other side, just like Ed was talking about. And secondly, no, I just forgot. The second thing is they will actually want to get back to their normal work-life balance. Because let's face it again, a lot of us have been working overtime in the last couple of weeks, just because we're trying to make sure that we can manage whatever we have with homeschooling, with our work, and so forth. So those 2 elements are now becoming more and more important in the teams that we are assessing. So I think that's an interesting development. And it actually allows us to, because we have all faced the coronavirus at different timings throughout the world, it actually allows us to go in and see, okay, so what will be the biggest issue in some of those places where they faced the coronavirus a bit later. So I'm thinking about the United Kingdom, I'm thinking about the US in some places, I'm thinking about Australia and so forth, just because it was happening a bit later. It's a very interesting actually exercise to be looking at this. So my next question now is, so what is the most important thing to you right now? Is it the productivity? Is it getting the daily job done? Or is it the well-being of yourself and your employees? And again, you can either write in the chat or you can turn on the microphone and then you can speak.
And I guess not only from the leadership perspective. If you are the employee, you can also say
Yes, exactly.
what you focus on and how you feel, or maybe you can also share how your leader is behaving. So it's also good.
Yes, please. And I think I can share that what I focused on in the early stages was getting the job done and the well-being. And of course, I need to make sure that we get to the productivity also at a certain point of time, and that we have this future orientation. But it's not really on the agenda of a lot of people yet, even though it should be.
I can also share maybe more from Lithuania perspective. Of course, there is no white and black, but companies are feeling very insecure right now, and they just want, to get the job done and not go bankruptcy, to say it very simply. So, but I think during these times, it's very important also to focus on people's well-being, and that is mostly forgotten. Which is not good. I think now we need to kind of keep that balance, to find the balance when people feel good, well, but also, not to go bankruptcy in a way. And since we feel so insecure, also leaders, they sometimes go just on that side when, need to raise profits and fire people and just somehow hold it on. But it shouldn't be like that. So finding that balance, I think it's a very, very major challenge for the moment. Okay, Gabriela, she's writing problem in the museum world. To get access to help packages, my leaders were sent home, so we are kind of running wild. But we had a huge demonstration of care and empowerment before the signal went silent. Okay, interesting.
Yes, but the way the Danish help packages have been constructed, it means that if you want to get access to funds for, cutting down salaries, then you need to send the people home, which is of course a bit a shame, because it's the same people you need to make sure that you actually get to the other side. So
yeah. Anyone else, guys? Just say whatever you feel right now. It's I guess it's not that hard to share.
Yeah, hi, it's Kat. I am a sole proprietor, kind of consultant in change management, and I was just about to relaunch my business here in Canada. So that was a really bad time for Corona to hit, because everything was going so well in 2020. And what I'm finding is I work a lot with with networks, colleagues and associations and stuff. I totally thrive on that. And also when I'm in companies, I try to work with networks all the time. And my first observation was that at the beginning, people were kind of drifting apart because everybody was terrified and they were kind of drifting away a little bit. And the opportunity that we have now is that people are working and thinking in terms of networks more, whereas before they haven't, because they have been taking it for granted that people show up for work and they're physically there. And then you don't really need to care about them because they are there physically, but now they're not. So, so suddenly you have to think about, oh, how does that network actually function? So as a change manager, I have numerous times seen informal networks at work and trying to identify, who influences change, who is where the biggest blockades and stuff like that. And I think that organizations are going to be more open to that now, because the awareness of how people are important in change and how networks are important in change, it has become more evident to people who would not be sensitive to that kind of stuff. So that's what I observed in the last few weeks. Mm-hmm. So there's opportunity in that as well.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Anyone else?
Yeah, wanted to ask the same. Anyone else would like to say something?
So the fun thing is, I actually got data on this, right?
Jeppe, someone was.
Yeah.
No, so I cannot get my video again. I mean, it's not possible, but I mean, you hear me, right? So
yes.
Liana speaking here. So talking about perspective, in perspective of a design sector. So lots of design companies, they kind of rearranged their production, and now they are making like protection, let's say, products for the medical personnel in the hospitals. And it has been quite a challenge, to change your, let's say, action into something socially responsible action, from making creating products and making some business on what you usually do in everyday life. So they changed completely into something that people need at the moment. So it was a good thing what happened in Lithuania. Lots of companies suddenly showed who they are. I'm talking about the social responsibility. Lots of bars, restaurants, when they've been closed down, so they started to deliver food for the front line. I mean, the doctors working hard, separated from their families, and they are working 24 hours per day. So I think quite many companies, they just over the, let's say, couple of weeks, they changed their responsibility and also their action plan, let's say, because they didn't just stop doing this, they just changed their course. And talking about the film industry, it just collapsed, I would say, because it's based on teamwork and very, very much on international collaboration. Everything stopped. But they are collaborating pretty much on, let's say, formulating different solutions for helping politicians to help them with the packages. You told that in Denmark, government, they delivered some help packages for each sector. In Lithuania, they do the same, but lots of creative industry people, they just helping in the background. I mean, because they know best what could work best in this current situation. So we are kind of creating a good, big groups, chat groups, and we're discussing every day, a few hours per day, and trying to help politicians to make the right thing in a very short term. So that's what I do every day. Between those small private gaps. But I'm actually, because I'm former politician, so I know that politicians sometimes they need some clever, unusual solutions from the field, and it unites a lot of people. I mean, that they've been when you talk about sectors, they are quite let's say, segregated, and they compete with each other. But in the daylight, I mean, light of this corona crisis, I mean, they started to collaborate, which is again a very good thing. They started to talk about bigger issues, bigger problems, and to solve together. So I see a lot of positive things going on, and I think people care more about each other, even in the business, and I feel it even virtually. So because I'm pretty connected, business breakfasts or discussions or whatever. So I think not that bad as it looks like.
Good, but there are many different approaches, I guess, to what is important. And I think the most important thing to remember is that we are all on different stages here, because we go through this as an individual. So even though I might be on the other side, I'm ready to focus on the future, somebody else might be still sitting down in the valley of despair and thinking this is never going to get over. So I think what I would at least encourage you to do in as leaders is that make sure that you talk to your employees, find out where they are on this journey, and support them in this journey. Because you might know more about where everything is heading just because you are sitting with that information on hand, but they don't. So I think as we go through this period here, make sure that you become even more empathetic and more listening, and make sure you communicate as much as possible, and make sure you show the direction out of there. I think that is really the most important thing. Even though productivity is great in the short run and getting the daily job done, that is not what is going to keep your team engaged, at least in the longer run. And it is starting to put a toll on people that we have this working from home situation. We have the loneliness kicking in. We have the lack of social connectivity kicking in. We do have the morale that might have been going a bit up, but we can see that now in companies, people are starting to fear that they will lose the job, right? So as leaders, I think there's never been a more important time than now, actually, to stand up as leaders and help people get through it. So I think that was really my last slide. Is there any questions that you would like to ask? Then please let me know.
Yeah, Jeppe, this is Ed Julian again.
Hi, Ed.
The report that you're generating for these companies, are you using external tools or internal data? Give us a little bit of background on, because we're really struggling to get companies to even want to consider more work right now, you know, in terms of giving us access to their data or surveys or anything. How are you doing that?
You can read all about it on our homepage. There's nothing secret about it. We basically employ the tools that we already had, and we employ the same data collection method that we normally have. We ask people, give us one email address to the team leader, and then we ask the team leader to distribute it. Then we get the data in, and from there on, it's just the existing tools.
And they're not they're okay to that in terms of, it's not a lot of work, is it?
No, it's not a lot of work. It's a 1-minute survey. It's a pulse check.
Okay.
And you could say there could be another barrier in price, right? But I don't really care if I earn money on this. I just want to make sure I help. So there is a price, just because we don't want to do it unless they really need it. All our existing clients and recent clients, they've got it for free. All others, they pay a symbolic price for it, I would call it.
Okay, Jeppe, maybe I would suggest to end the presentation so we can all see each other.
Yes.
Is that okay? If you
Yeah,
are,
that's fine.
of course, yeah.
And I am okay with sharing the presentation afterwards as a PDF if you want to have it. There's nothing secret in this at all.
Yeah. So please switch on your videos and just let's ask anything, Jeppe, maybe you would like to ask something? Oh, this is
Yeah,
nice.
I can
This
see Jan is.
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Jeppe, from the place where you are, on the chair where you are in your company, what do you think? Because of all this, the way we work together now, do you think that is only for now, or do you think there will be in the future, because of all this, quite a new way of working together as people in a working place, as people in a society?
I'll tell you a fun story.
Yeah.
Because 1 year ago, one of my young people, she said, "Jeppe, we need to travel much less so we don't, we're not behaving bad for the climate, right?" So, so actually 1 year ago, we decided that we wanted to tell our clients that we didn't want to travel as much, and that actually made me think, can we actually do that, right? But we have actually we're only traveling for 19% of our clients now. So just by pushing that out there, we actually force people to think about, okay, do we really need to meet each other face to face, or can we use a media like this one? And it has been accepted. The fun thing is, and I keep telling this story, is that the companies that still wants to see us face to face, they're all Danish. Everyone else, they don't really care. So I think there's also something about Danish culture in this, if it will change it up. But then you can say, so what about my own company? Will it change the way we've organized that we have an office and that everyone gets into the office and they work together every single day? It could be, actually. I personally, I don't have a need for seeing people in the office. I don't really care if they're in the office. I trust them. But maybe people will even be more aware that I actually do trust them, because I'm not doing the micromanagement thing. So actually, maybe some of them will start to work from home every second day or so, and then I'm fine with that.
Yeah, but I think what you say, trust is a very, very good thing.
Yeah,
trusting the people and the well-being of people, and you can get into anything to contribute to the goals of the company, I think.
There's a very good citation from Abraham Lincoln on that one. I just need to see if I can remember it.
Yeah, the very interesting thing that you mentioned, that people are now in the moment that they want to really get back to their routine. But there's also other side of the medal, that those people who were also within this routine and was wondering how to change it, how to change their approach. Is it possible not to do it as we do it every day? And when we get to being forced to do so, we discover that it is possible. So basically, there is also another side, those who will be discover new routine and maybe won't be in such a dream world like your company. Sorry for saying that, but when you were doing about this saying about this empathy and the way how you approach, I figured out, shoot, I need to change a lot of things, like from this employee point of view, first of all, and second, like maybe there is a different approach. Maybe we don't need to go back really to the routine, because we're forced to check some other ideas.
I'm 100% sure that I hope that a lot of big companies, they will change their way of working as we go into the future here, because I mean, there are so many ridiculous regulations enforcing people to do stuff that it just don't make any sense at all, right? And I mean, it's in terms of meetings. I was receiving a book from a good friend here today called Complexity. It is saying that complexity within a business eats 40% of the profit, and complexity comes in different forms. I mean, it can be like organizational complexity, process complexity, and so forth. I mean, one of the things that I hate the most is when things stand still because nobody's making a decision. And I mean, you see that every now and then. I was doing a project some years ago in an insurance company, and we were looking at how they make decisions. And they had, during a quarter, they had 21 decision meetings. Nobody was really making the real decisions in those 21 decision meetings. But there was a 22nd meeting that was not official between the CIO and the CFO. And that's where all the decisions were made. And they met once per quarter, informally, in one of their offices. And that's where all the decisions were made. And I think if we can get rid of that, right? So people are not meeting just because they have to meet, that would be nice. I mean, look at your calendar. I'm not sure where you're working, but if you look at a calendar, people have way too many meetings where they just sit there because they are sitting there and they do not have an objective with it. Sorry, other questions?
Yeah. Anything more? Anything else?
But if there are no more questions, and I mean, please feel free to reach out and ask questions to me directly. And as Jeppe said, we do a lot on the sharing front. We actually share everything we can. The only thing I will not give you is a gold mine of data and algorithms that we have underneath, but everything else we're actually sharing. We share cases, we share stories all the time.
Yeah, so this session is being recorded, so you will get the link and then you will get the material like Jeppe mentioned. And of course, I know that from the registration form, there were people saying that they would like to cooperate with Jeppe and Innovisor, so just do approach them, do not be afraid. And yeah, if you have any questions afterwards or you need to get inspiration or advice, just contact Jeppe. I think he will be happy. He will be happy to help you, right? So it's all about helping this time.
Maybe I should tell you one last anecdote and why it is that I'm always happy to help. It's a story that I love personally because it's a personal story. But it's about my kids. So one of my kids, my son, he's really good at doing shot put. Do you know what a shot put is? It's athletics. So when he was 10 years old, right, and he was the best in Denmark, I asked him a question about, okay, so who would you like to be your coach, right? I thought he would mention one of the local coaches rather than his dad trying to tell him how to do stuff. And then he said, Dad, I would like Joachim B. Olsen to be my coach. And you don't know who Joachim B. Olsen is, but Joachim B. Olsen is the only Dane who has been doing athletics who won a medal in every single international championships, and he did that for 10 years in a row. So European championships, world championships, Olympic championships, indoor, outdoor, whatever, right? And then when he was done with that, his weight was 165 kilos, so he was enormous, right? He actually entered a dance competition on television. I'm not sure what it's called, but it's where the famous people are dancing together with a professional dancer. And imagine a guy like him trying to dance in that show, right? But he actually won it. So he won the gold, he won the entire show, right? And then when he was done with that, he went into politics. And he actually also became a very popular politician in Denmark, at least for some people. But this is a guy that my son points to, right? So and I don't know Joachim B. Olsen, so how will I ever get this guy to help me with coaching my son? So I'm thinking, okay, what do I do? And I actually call him. I try to call him. And I get through to him. And here's the thing he says, you know what? Nobody has ever asked me for help from Danish athletics. So there's nothing I would rather do. And then he actually became my son's coach for 3 years. So if that is possible, right, then everything is possible. You just need to ask for it. And I think that has been my principle ever since. And I also, when Jeppe asked me, that was the principle. If you ask for it, I will help. I will maybe not help twice, but I will help the first time.
Yes,
that's
actually,
great.
he said yes within 1 second when I asked whether whether you want to run a webinar with me. That was great. Yeah, that's really great. Yeah. All right. I just want to mention you if someone you will be interested in more leadership webinars like that, you can contact me, and I will invite you to my leadership platform group. Maybe Jeppe will do another webinar with us. We'll see.
Hopefully not on the coronavirus.
Yeah, maybe something more optimistic. But it was also very optimistic and great message behind this webinar, I guess. So Yeah,
It's
Diana,
possible also to ask Jeppe for help, because I work for audiovisual sector, which is
So you
completely
can just do that directly. So we don't
very
need.
complicated, and there will be a lot of issues to solve. So probably I would need some help from you. Maybe it's possible. So then I can ask you directly.
Yes, I think my contact
Thank
details
you.
will be on in the email.
You know,
Thank
I'm not only happy to ask for help, but I'm also happy to help. So
Brilliant.
it's great. Yes, thank you for asking.
Good.
Definitely.
But it was nice talking to you all. Bye bye.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank
Bye.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye. Thank you, Getter. Thank you, Jeppe.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you,
See you
Jeppe.
next
Bye.
time.
Bye.
See you.
See you.
See you.
See you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hi.
Hi hi. In Danish is hi hi.
Hi, hi. Be
Hi,
safe.
hi.
Be safe.
Stay cool and happy. I mean, stay
Bye,
positive.
Serena.
Bye.
Everything will be
Bye
okay.
bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Take care, all of you.
Take
Bye
care.
bye. Thank you for this
Bye. Thank
interesting
you
session.
Bye,
very much.
Ivan.
Bye.
Have a nice evening and
Have
weekend.
a nice evening. Bye.
It's in the corner of the lead meeting. You have to.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Oh. Okay. Have a
Okay.
nice evening then.
Bye.
Have
Bye.
a nice evening, Diana.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.